Our guest today has been Housing Commissioner since May 1999. He presides over a 200-person agency with a budget of $160 million, whose mission is to advance the city's goal of strengthening the city by developing, revitalizing, and stabilizing neighborhoods. Since 1980, the department has been the center of affordable housing, innovation, and community transformation in Chicago. Prior to moving up to commissioner, our guest today had served as first deputy commissioner. Our guest today holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago and a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Oregon. Our guest today and his wife, Pat Sharkey, have three wonderful children. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the City Club of Chicago the Commissioner of the City of Chicago Department of Housing, John Markowski. Jack?
Thank you very much. You know, a number of people told me already that the reason they came today was because they thought it would be easier to meet with DOH staff over here than it is to wait for our elevators over at 318 South Michigan. It's a little embarrassing for the Department of Housing to have a non-functioning elevator, but I hope our landlord works on that and we eventually have it under control. I also wanted to acknowledge, I don't see her, you know, the commissioner who brought me into the Department of Housing initially, Marina Carrot. Marina, are you here still? There she is. And Marina really, you know, Mayor Daley brought her in, and I feel really set the department in the direction that we're working on today. These are the shoulders that we stand on as we continue to innovate into the future. And thank you very much, Marina. Thank you all for coming today. It's good to have a diverse group like this one, which includes community developers, for-profit builders, public officials, housing advocates, and civic leaders, because we're all partners in a common mission. That mission is to keep all of Chicago's neighborhoods affordable for all of Chicago's families. For our seniors, longtime homeowners, young working couples just starting out, immigrants, empty nesters, people living alone in SROs, and anyone else who chooses to live in the city. Our city celebrates diversity, both economic and ethnic, and everything Mayor Daley has done in the last 12 years reinforces that commitment. This audience is also a reflection of the high degree of interest in the issue of affordable housing, an issue that affects not only the poor, but also working and middle-income families. It affects more and more of our workforce, and therefore it affects the economy. When jobs and housing are not located near each other, it creates more traffic on our roads, longer commutes for workers, and less time for parents and children to be together. Homes are the building blocks of neighborhoods, the drivers that lead to jobs and commercial development. For families, a home is more than a roof overhead. It's the anchor in our lives. We invest in our homes financially and emotionally. For most of us, it's the single biggest investment we will ever make. Our safe haven, where we raise our families. H.L. Mencken once said that a home represents the personalities of the people who live in it. That's especially true of Chicago's housing stock. Brawny bungalows that have housed generations of working families. Elegant graystones lining our boulevards, evoking Chicago's Gilded Age and the captains of industries that built the city. Handsome Victorian-style homes in quiet tree-lined neighborhoods for striving middle-class families. Tasteful townhouses lining our avenues, appealing to the young and old alike. And solid brick six-flats in apartment buildings, many of them adorned with classic architectural detailing, wrought iron, landscape courtyards, woven throughout our neighborhoods, creating new networks of singles, couples, working families, and immigrants. Under Mayor Daley, Chicago has led a national urban renaissance with cutting-edge programs and policies on a variety of fronts: crime fighting, education, parks, recreation, job development, neighborhood revitalization, and of course, housing. Today, in fact, housing has moved to the center of the stage, in part because of the success the city has experienced in so many other areas. Because our city is safer, our schools are better, our economy is more vibrant, and our neighborhoods more attractive, people want to live here. And that affects those who already do. Neighborhood improvements have led to rising property values, and that means tax bills go up, squeezing longtime homeowners and pricing young families out of the market. Despite these trends, Chicago remains one of the most affordable big cities in America, with average home sales prices lower than a number of other big cities, including San Francisco, San Diego, LA, New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., Denver, Seattle, Honolulu. All have prices higher than ours, according to a report in last Sunday's paper. In fact, Chicago's average home prices are only slightly above the average among the top 31 cities in America, including places like Rochester and Pittsburgh. Weekly home sales figures released by the Multiple Listing Service of Northern Illinois indicate that the average home in a third of our neighborhoods sells for less than $100,000. In the rental market, however, the story is less positive. The influx of 100,000 new people in the last decade and the condo conversion trend have led to a tighter rental market. Vacancy rates in Chicago are as low as 4%, and rents are escalating at several times the rate of inflation, squeezing seniors, the poor, and working families. Another recent news report said that Chicago is the only big city in America that gained population in the past decade but lost rental units. Today, we have about 600,000 active rental units in Chicago. This is down slightly from a decade ago. The problem is that it just doesn't pay to build rental housing. The value of a typical rental unit is about $60,000, and I'd say this is a value across the city on average. In many neighborhoods, it's much less than that. But this is far less than the average of creating one, which is about $150,000. And with most of our rental housing built before the middle of the last century, much of it has deteriorated, putting families at risk of substandard living conditions and Chicago at risk of losing even more units. Basically, the laws of supply and demand don't favor affordable rental housing. The demand is great, but the supply is shrinking, and what's left is getting more expensive. Given these dynamics, the Chicago Department of Housing plays an increasingly important role in keeping Chicago affordable. And I want to use this opportunity today to clarify our role and talk about how it's changing. Some people confuse us with the Chicago Housing Authority. We have our friend Terry Peterson here today. Of course, they manage public housing. Some confuse us with the Building Department, which issues building permits and enforces the building code. Historically, the Department of Housing has done four basic things: promote home ownership, facilitate home repair and preservation, foster the creation of rental housing, and subsidize rental costs for low-income families. In the past decade, we've helped over 7,000 families become homeowners through mortgage subsidies or programs like New Homes for Chicago, which has made new homes available in neighborhoods across the city for as little as $90,000. We've helped over 22,000 homeowners fix up their homes, weatherize them, make them more energy efficient, or modify them for a family member with a disability. We've also worked with community and for-profit developers to create over 30,000 units of affordable rental housing in neighborhoods throughout Chicago, including housing for seniors, SROs, and families. In fact, virtually all of the new rental housing built in Chicago in the past decade has been subsidized through our programs. Beyond that, we also help over 2,000 families pay their monthly rent bills through the Low-Income Housing Trust Fund, the largest locally funded rent subsidy program in the country. With the mayor's election in 1989, Chicago began developing new homes, funding SRO construction, creating the trust fund, and various other initiatives. But it wasn't until 1992 that the federal government's home program went into high gear. Shortly after that, our department crafted its first 5-year plan, which ran through 1998 and totaled over $900 million. Today, we're midway through the second 5-year plan, and we expect it to approach $1.5 billion by the end of 2003, benefiting another 25,000 homeowners and renters. The plan not only includes federal funds, but also local funds, like tax increment financing. In fact, Chicago has dedicated over $26 million in TIF financing to affordable housing. In a nutshell, that's our record to date. And while we're proud of all we've accomplished, we've also come to recognize that keeping neighborhoods affordable for families requires us to take on a broader role. It's not enough to just build housing that people can afford to buy or rent. We also have to help homeowners reduce their tax burden as surrounding property values escalate. And we must protect people from unscrupulous lenders to avoid foreclosure, which not only affects the homeowner, but can also degrade a block or even a neighborhood when a home is abandoned. Basically, our department must do whatever it takes to make sure that everyone can stay in their neighborhoods. Nobody should be forced out by high assessments. Nobody should lose their home to a predatory lender. Filling this broader role requires the Department of Housing to develop a more customer-oriented focus and an aggressive outreach campaign that brings our programs and services directly into the neighborhoods where they are needed most. We will promote tax relief programs like the Senior Freeze and the Circuit Breaker directly to the seniors. We'll go to neighborhoods where assessments are rising fastest, like Wicker Park, Westtown, Bronzeville, Lakeview, Logan Square. We'll tell homeowners about the CHAP program, which we developed 3 years ago with Assessor Houlihan, and the new County Tax Relief Initiative. We'll show families how to appeal their assessments, apply for earned income tax credits, and get their homeowners exemptions. In partnership with the city treasurer and area banks, we also have a major campaign underway called Save Home to combat predatory lending. We'll work with senior advocacy groups to help educate their members on this issue. And I want to commend Governor Ryan today for establishing tougher regulations, the toughest in the country, for predatory lenders, giving us another tool to fight back. I also want to salute Congressman Rush and Markowski, who just proposed federal legislation to curb predatory lending. Clearly elected officials at the state and federal level, along with responsible members of the banking community, recognize that innocent homeowners and seniors are being abused, and they're working with us to stop it. As part of our outreach effort, we've also scheduled a series of 5 neighborhood fairs this fall throughout Chicago to introduce homeowners, renters, landlords, and community groups to all of our housing and tax relief programs. One of our newest is the Bungalow Initiative, aimed at preserving and keeping affordable the 80,000 bungalows in Chicago. We're also redesigning our website so someone who wants to buy, repair, or rent a home can get clear guidance and direction. Developers will also be able to get information about our various programs and services online. We're producing new marketing materials that pull together key programs under a few basic headings: home ownership, home repair, rental housing, and tax relief, so people have a better sense of what we're doing. Finally, we're consolidating dozens of different programs under these same general headings to make it easier for people to get information and participate. In addition to being more customer-focused and user-friendly, there are other changes underway that will expand our impact. The state donations tax credit, which will generate up to $26 million for affordable housing each year, is in the new state budget and will soon be on Governor Ryan's desk. I urge him to sign it so the money can start working for our families. At the county level, we're also working to expand Class 9, which encourages construction and rehab of affordable rental housing. Today, Class 9 only applies to targeted low-income areas, and only about 300 properties in Chicago use the benefit. On behalf of the mayor, today I want to call on Cook County to apply Class 9 county-wide in order to make affordable rental units available in more communities. Every neighborhood needs affordable rental housing. Expanding Class 9 countywide will help to create more housing for seniors, young families starting out, immigrants, and others. At the federal level, we recently were awarded another $100 million in tax credits and bonding capacity for affordable housing over the next 3 years. It's a good start, but we also need at least a 40% increase in our home funding to maximize the impact of these tax credits. Tax credits alone are not enough. The mayor has called on Congress to pass the increase, and I echo his call again today. Congress needs to understand that affordable housing is not just an urban issue. If people can't afford to live in communities where they work, the entire economy will start to shrink. The mayor has made it very clear that along with education funding, affordable housing is a top priority, and we're very hopeful the new administration will respond to our request. We will also push for incentives to preserve project-based Section 8 housing units. Up to 5,000 units in hot market areas are at risk of leaving the Section 8 program between today and 2005. Among them are Rienzi Plaza on West Diversey, one of the last buildings in Lakeview with affordable units. The owners of that building just renewed in the Section 8 program for another year, and I salute them for that. But we need to give them a better reason to stay in the program. One incentive we're pushing for is the elimination of exit taxes to encourage property owners to donate aging rental properties to nonprofits who can preserve and manage them. The bottom line is, if landlords drop out of the Section 8 program, hundreds, even thousands of families in neighborhoods throughout Chicago will be uprooted and thrust into the private market. And they will be competing with the CHA families relocating from public housing. As you know, CHA is now engaged in a massive effort to convert isolated public housing developments into healthy mixed-income communities. The scope is enormous. It involves not just the CHA's $1.6 billion, but private sector investment on a similar scale, and reinvestment in schools, parks, streets, and of course, affordable housing. The total investment in these public housing neighborhoods could approach $4 or $5 billion. I know some housing advocates are concerned that CHA's redevelopment plan will consume the lion's share of our affordable housing resources. Let me put those concerns to rest. The Department of Housing will invest over $900 million between now and 2003 on a broad range of affordable housing programs. The CHA effort is just beginning. It's too soon to predict what will be needed for that effort. Moreover, it's all part of our same effort to improve housing in Chicago. We're all part of Chicago. Affordable housing created in conjunction with the CHA serves our larger purpose, just as much as affordable housing created elsewhere. The mayor has made a commitment to CHA residents and the CHA leadership that, as with school reform, all of Chicago will be partners in the effort to rebuild CHA. So some percentage of our affordable housing dollars will help the CHA create a national model of public housing that offers residents job opportunities and a better quality of life. In fact, we just cut the ribbon on one project 3 days ago. The mayor welcomed the first families into Northtown Village, a new mixed-income development on Halsted Street near Cabrini Green. It's a model project combining market rate, affordable, and public housing. It's close to industrial, commercial, retail, and job centers, public transportation, nightlife, restaurants. It's exactly what the neighborhood needs today. The Near North community is desperately in need of affordable housing. Cabrini residents are desperately in need of new homes and jobs, and there's already a long waiting list for the market rate rental units. So rather than viewing our partnership with the CHA as a threat, I ask the housing advocates to see this as an opportunity. This is an exciting time for Chicago. Despite the national economic slowdown of the past few months, our economy is thriving. As you know, Chicago recently beat out Dallas and Denver for Boeing, the biggest corporate prize in recent memory. Chicago's quality of life has never been better. More and more people are buying homes and choosing to raise their families here. Our neighborhoods grow stronger by the day. But we know we still have our challenges. Clearly, we must do more to create rental housing. The state donations tax credit will help, as will expansion of Class 9 countywide and the increase in federal funding that the mayor has called for. At the same time, the Department of Housing will be much more aggressive in the coming months in promoting tax relief to longtime homeowners in rapidly improving areas. We will be more customer-focused and less bureaucratic. We won't be sitting in our offices downtown simply reviewing projects. We're going to the neighborhoods to find the people in need and to educate them to every available opportunity. Like many other issues, education or crime, for example, housing is an area where there never seems to be enough money. We always need more. There's always someone being squeezed somewhere. And when you work for a mayor like ours, who is never satisfied, as long as there is one decent, hardworking family who can't buy a home, or one long-time homeowner facing pressure from rising property values, or one young family squeezed into an apartment that's too small at a price that's too high. You have to begin each day with a fresh commitment to new ideas, new approaches, greater efficiencies, and better ways of doing things. Every year, the bar gets a little higher. Every year, we look for new answers. Every year, we look for new resources. And thanks to people like many of you here today, every year, we build new partnerships that advance our core mission to keep all of Chicago's neighborhoods affordable for all of Chicago's families. Thank you. Do we have, if there's any questions, we have a mic here, and I'd ask if you would identify yourself and just walk up to the mic if you'd like to say anything. Anyone? Don't be shy. None? Anything? All right. You know, thank you very much. You know, I'm up here representing the Department of Housing today, and you're looking at me, but I just wanted to acknowledge my staff that is here. When we talk about the Department of Housing, we're extremely proud of all of our accomplishments. And I have a number of staff here today from the department, people that do the work and that represent our department. So if our staff could stand up, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Just hold on, Jack. Just hold on. I'm glad you answered all their questions, Commissioner.
It's a tough crowd.
Yes. On behalf of the City Club of Chicago and our Board of Directors, we want to present you with a one-year membership to the City Club of Chicago.
All right.
And you can drink out of the same coffee mug as Alderman Suarez and Mayor Daley, Alderman Moore, Alderman Troutman, and so forth. A City Club mug, which is in compliance with all those ethics ordinances that you guys throw up every 2 weeks. Take care. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.